Hello, Jeff Zwarenk here with Give and Take. We're looking at the latest scientific issues to help you be more confident as you go out to share the gospel. Today we're joined by a special guest, Ted Cabal, and we're just going to explore what Ted sees as the most powerful evidence for the truth of Christianity. Ted, it's good to have you on set again here today.
Thanks for having me.
I just enjoy talking to theologians, people who've studied other areas and disciplines. I know you work at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. You have training in the philosophy of religion and have interacted a lot with science and Christian faith issues. And so I just want to know, what do you see as the strongest bit of evidence or strongest case to be made for the truth of Christianity?
Like most theologians and philosophers, let's see if I can make it a little bit more complex than it needs to be. I want to say, first of all, I think it's important in the area of apologetics to realize God has so made himself known that in a way, he can reach any kind of person with a very different background. So many people won't be scientific or historically minded or philosophically minded and so on, and yet he's given enough evidence to support Christianity that can reach a person of any kind of background. So what I want to say at the very top is that it's person-centered, person-relative, if I'm trying to share with someone. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to give you the answer the way it's come over the years for me. This is my own personal answer.
So that's a very interesting point, is that often we think that, okay, the strongest evidence is here in this realm or that, and that it's almost like you have to be trained in this particular area to have the evidence. You're kind of making an argument that there's evidence across a wide range of disciplines and ideas, if you will.
That's right. That's right. I'm convinced that God has made no secret of who he is and what he's wanted to do for us through Jesus Christ, and that many people will not be able to relate to all of the various pieces of the evidence. Mm-hmm. So what I'm about to share is actually my own personal, what excites me when I may be stepping back and feeling weary in the intellectual battle or whatever, mm-hmm. and I remind myself, you know what, there really is this. It's not just that I know Christ personally. That's the most important thing. And in a way, that is the only thing that grounds us in our Christian faith. Every person comes to him through that revelation he makes of himself through the gospel in Christ. But intellectually, for me, I've come to understand that there is a big picture that sort of gives a lens to everything in life that enables me to say, you know what, really, this is true. And that is what I call maybe the worldview picture, the way the Bible in its most important teachings, we might even call it the gospel, the good news of the Bible, centers around worldview ideas that are a part of every worldview. So that is, if you want to make it simple for children, it'd be, where did I come from? Sort of a creation issue. What's wrong? Well, we would think of that as a sin issue. What's the solution? Of course, it's Christ, and then where am I going when I die? But every worldview, including atheistic ones, have answers for those things. And they have a distinct ability to look for the evidence that undergirds each of those things. So, Jeff, I believe that for the simplest of persons who's had no educational background whatsoever, the fulfillment that we get in our hearts by thinking about the answers the Bible gives to those questions are more profound and more fulfilling and more coherent than any of the others. But we can, if you like, talk about what I think is the way the actual evidence and reasons that support in the intellectual world the answers to those questions that the Bible gives.
So it seems like it's a two-pronged thing. One is that the Bible basically gives the best answer to all of the big questions.
Yes.
And that there's a joy in thinking about that,
yes,
as well as an intellectual rigor to the answer
yes,
that the Bible gives to those questions.
Exactly right. So for instance, the very first question, the Bible's not a scientific handbook or textbook, but it overlaps with scientific questions that are legitimate. The beautiful thing about it is it's interested in telling us who is the creator. He's left enough evidence in science that we can look and see that there is a creator, and we ought to be impressed. It's amazing and it's glorious, and who would know better than an astronomer like you?
Well, I mean, I have to say, when I sit out and just look at creation, whether it's looking at the stars or seeing where we are in the mountains or the trees and the streams, there is just this sense of, wow, who did all this? And it's almost drawn into worship just by being that. So.
And indeed, this is the kind of thing any person can understand. So it can be as detailed and scholarly as a person who's an astronomer like you doing research and looking at the details, like Kepler, a famous Christian astronomer of old. He said, when I study, when I do my science, I'm just thinking God's thoughts after him. But it can be the child looking around at the micro world of insects or the macro world of the sky, and we see the Creator's handiwork. Mm-hmm. The same is true with the big question of what's wrong. We all know there's something wrong with the world, and yet there's so many answers out there competing. The Bible's answer is the most profound. It's you are estranged, literally in a completely broken relationship with the Creator. Notice how they all focus on the Creator. Mm-hmm. The answers to the Bible, they're different. All the other world religions and worldviews focus on the human being. The first answer, it's the Creator. Who is He? The second answer, we're in a broken relationship with the Creator, one we can't fix. The solution, the Creator Himself must be the one who rescues us, and He does so by coming and becoming one of us in Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And then finally, where are we going? We're going to go give an account of ourselves to the Creator who's left such evidence. So if you think about it, Jeff, scientific evidence for the first question. The second one is philosophical. It's the issue of what's wrong. It's a moral, philosophical one. The third one's historical. The evidence for Christ is amazing, and His resurrection. He's the only person who's ever been to the other side of death and come back to tell us what to expect, and in His case, never to die again. And I guess I would say then finally, that historical evidence for the resurrection of Christ to me just thrills my soul. It's so powerful, anchoring everything.
You know, when you look at Christianity, it really does have this all-encompassing worldview and answering all of the big questions in really a satisfying, joyful, exciting way, that as we go out and address other people who have different worldviews that say there's no Creator or this is how the Creator works, that as Christians we have a great story to tell and an opportunity to explore what that other person is passionate about, what their worldview is, and to bring the gospel and the Christian worldview into that conversation with confidence that Christianity really does answer the biggest questions in the best way, and that's what the evidence will show. So let's go out and share the gospel with great confidence.